All right. So, welcome everyone to another episode of Trouble to Transformation. Today, I have Denis Selskiy from Good Vibe Rising. He went from selling Coke for 10 years within an organized crime group to attempt on his life, served a 4.5-year prison sentence. This is a profound story of transformation. Denis is now a certified holistic practitioner, Reiki Master, meditation instructor, host, and facilitator for Sound Bath Therapy, which I've seen some of those videos. They are fantastic. You can find Denis on Instagram under Good Vibe Rising, where he creates content around personal training and motivational videos with a no excuse, no BS attitude. Thanks for coming on, Denis. I am super stoked to have you on today.
Rhonda, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you have an incredible story. I did what you told me to do. I did a bit of a name search and found some newspaper articles, and wow, you have come a long ways.
Thank you.
Yes. So now let's go back to that newspaper article. You ended up serving 4.5 years in penitentiary.
Yes.
Which I did watch some of those videos, the nice view on the hill.
Yes. That was the end of it. That was the first little bit started off as Sask Ben in Prince Albert there, right? Because that's where my crime was. That's where I got charged for the kilo conspiracy of cocaine trafficking conspiracy for that kilo. And they just sent me a piece of paper, and I ended up flying over there and doing time.
Yeah. Well, and what I read too is that the Crown prosecutor, they wanted 8 years. That's a pretty hefty sentence.
Yes, they did, because I fought. Like everybody, all my co-accused, actually, like one of my co-accused got 18 years right off the bat, because it's prairie time. It was like, if I was in BC, that would have been a slap on the wrist. Over there, it's not that easy to get off, right? So I ended up fighting. I was the only one that fought. All my co-accused were like, yeah, we did it. I'm like, nope, I'll fight it. And it's like my trial was set for 2 weeks. I didn't drag it out. I didn't want to piss the judge off. So like certain things where my voice recording was there, I just admitted that was my voice. So we skipped like a week off. But then still, of course, the judge wasn't, he was a pretty clever, smart guy, right? Of course. And we have the witness on the stand. That's like sitting right there. He was a president of that ex-biker club. And he it was very circumstantial evidence, somewhat hearsay. But I was very vague on the phone. The recordings were very vague, but the guy was there to actually explain what I meant by saying that. And the judge put it together and convicted me. Yeah. And prosecution wanted 8 years for me fighting it. But then the judge is like, you know what you've been doing? At that point, I was already a holistic practitioner. I was already working on myself, doing all kinds of stuff. So he's like, you know what? It doesn't make any sense to put you such a long period of time because you've done so much progress. So kind of worked out.
Yeah. And this is why I've been really looking forward to this interview, Denis, is because, I have a history in crime myself. I've also done a little bit of time in penitentiary. However, the reason why I'm really stoked about this is because I'm actually aiming to take my practice into men's penitentiaries. And I've actually already developed a workshop that I'm going to try to present to the Correctional Services of Canada and see where that takes me. So if I ever do a workshop in Edmonton, is that where you're from?
Yes, I'm here now. This is where I got pretty much stuck here, right? They released me on parole. Vancouver didn't want me to do my parole there. Of course, Edmonton kind of made sense. And my buddies here, I got a job, oil field, already had a little bit of a career going in that. So kind of worked out, and I love it here now. It's perfect for me here.
It's not so bad, and it looks like your business too with the sound therapy and whatnot is very successful. You got a lot of people showing up.
Yes.
And actually, my question was, if I ever get an opportunity to come out there and do a workshop, I do need a second facilitator.
Done. It's actually yes. It's interesting because I've suggested to Corrections Service Canada when I was here in Minimum. They let me do my meditations there. So actually, they kind of rewrote institutional programming and implemented meditation as a daily routine after I presented that to the guys. They're doing some very heavy programming, and the guys are reliving all these experiences. And some of these guys just never had a chance. They have such bad childhood, right? So it's very, very hard on them. I've seen that. And I did a guided meditation one day, and the facilitator of the program and the director of the institution, they were like, "Man, this is it. We're going to do this from now on." And they still do that to this point. So we made some
Oh,
changes,
no.
significant changes, without even kind of trying. It just kind of, I was there, and now it just
Mhm.
happened. So what you're doing, definitely going to help the guys there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And a part of my program that I'm developing too is a lot about regulating the nervous system, learning about like how physical sensations, when you're starting to get thoughts that create
Mhm.
feelings that now are an outward behavior because it's spiraled into rage and anger and you don't even know where it came from. It's just, and like you said, one thing that I heard you say is like some of these guys have gone through so much childhood adversities that they didn't stand a chance.
Mhm.
And that's my deep dig into this conversation is where did it all start for you? Like, do you mind going down memory lane into your childhood a little bit?
No, absolutely not. I had like, so, I grew up in USSR, which is Ukraine now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm Russian. I
Yes.
speak Russian. I don't speak Ukrainian. I lived in, which is now Ukraine, Odessa, right on the Black Sea there, which is a
Mhm.
big port. A lot of gangsters there, right? Growing up, it's almost was like, I seen, people with money, gangsters, and they had like special treatments. You go to a restaurant, they always had, all these,
Mhm.
people had to leave. They couldn't use their cell phones around them. The guys were like important, almost like the movie, they, um, I always wanted to be a gangster, but then, of course, I come to Canada, all right, and education system is so harsh in Russia. Like if you fail one course, you got to go back a year, redo everything all over again. So
Mhm.
I come here from like 16 subjects, being like I already knew everything, all the physics and math here. You only like 8 subjects here. It was a joke to me. So instantly I was like, man, this is stupid. This is a joke. I could probably get away with some shit. So I did. I kind of started. Basically, for me, it was the money. Like it was the money. I
Mhm.
tried to work, labor. I was making snowboards for this big snowboarding company, and then I was doing production crew for all the raves, big events in Vancouver. So I had some pretty cool
Mhm.
jobs, but I just could not get ahead. Like 12, $10 an hour was just not doing it. I
Mhm.
wanted to help my grandma back home, have a
Mhm.
sick grandma back home. My aunt, my other grandma, like I just wanted to help my parents. I wanted to kind of help her take care of myself. And I remember I decided to kind of stop partying. I think I was 19 years old. I stopped. I said, I'm not going to party. I'm not going to do coke anymore. I'm just going to sell it. So I bought an ounce or something and I sold half grams for $30 on my bicycle all over
Mhm.
downtown Vancouver. And at that time, like my dream car, I was trying to get like a Honda Civic or something. And that was like expensive for me, right? But 3 months later, I was driving a $60,000 vehicle, $60,000 SUV. That was my first car. So I mean that happened really fast, right? And I kind of undercut everybody. I already had some friends that were connected to some big guys, um,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then that's it. I moved like to the beach right away, got myself another car, and it was just life was good for
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah, the adrenaline, and I can relate to that too. Like when you get that instant gratification that you sell this and I get this in return
Hmm.
without actually, and I don't really want to say without doing any real work, right? Because that lifestyle is not what people think either. It's like now when I look back at that, it's like a personal hell.
Hmm.
Because you're never safe. You're always looking over your shoulder. I lived in fear and anxiety like every day of my life, but it was the norm. So I just thought that was just normal, right? Like sleeping with weapons under your pillow and baseball bats at the door. Like
Yes,
yeah. And then you kind of get addicted to that lifestyle. So,
of course. So it's yeah, the thrill is always there, of course, but it's just like running any other business. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like, but on top
it
of
is.
that, you have to dodge the cops and you have to do it all in secret, and you have to like, but
Mhm,
it's so much more. And like you said, yeah, I got used to it. Your door can come down anytime. There's always like some coke in the house, but I kind of kept it. I had like a spare office where I kept most of the stuff, and
mhm.
so yeah, but yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and and the thing is, like, I had a conversation with somebody that was from the tactical team down on the Lower Mainland, and and we had this conversation too about how, like, coming through the door, and I just heard you say that people coming through the door, but sometimes it's the enemy that comes smiling that comes through the door, and those are the guys that I was terrified of because I had two home invasions. I've
Mhm.
lived through that. I walked in on one at one time, got away, thank God. And it's, and I've never got over that.
Yeah, that's what the first time kind of happened to me. Guys came to the office where I was sleeping after partying.
Mhm.
Two guys strapped,
Mm.
and buddy busted in. He ended up fucking kind of getting the keys from somebody to that place, whatever. And he walked in. I was sleeping, woke up, buddy pulled trigger right away, and the fucking thing jammed. And I was
Oh,
like, "What the fuck's going on, buddy?" Recocking it and it's just jammed. So and I
wow.
just got him like, that's it. I mean, the other guy kind of started fighting. The other guy grabbed a knife, cut my fucking leg off pretty bad. And at that point,
Mm.
and I was just fucking fighting for your life. I put one guy's like hands through the window, and it was a big mess there. And my girlfriend ran
Yeah.
outside, and yeah, got away with it alive with some injuries.
Mhm.
But that was like a
Yeah.
major. That was the beginning of like the thinking process. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? And like something
Yeah.
has kept me here now. Let's make some changes. So that was the beginning there for me.
Yeah. That's really interesting. There was another gentleman that I interviewed on this platform, Jason Head. Same thing. They had the gun in his face and it jammed too. And now he's doing this amazing spiritual work as well and
Mhm.
going into penitentiaries and doing talks and stuff. But can I ask you a real personal question about that?
Mhm.
Does that still mess with you? Like, do you have extreme PTSD due to that incident?
You know what? I had nothing, like zero, close to zero. Like the same. 2 days later, I was in Dominican already partying, freaking. I was squirting blood out of my leg. My face was lit up,
Oh,
scars all
oh
over.
my God.
And I just went with a
Mm,
bunch of friends and we just partied it off,
mm,
right? But considering after years after, right, I'm having pains, like I thought my liver was failing, I thought my kidneys were shot, my back, my
mhm,
heart hurts, like I'm having heart pains, right? And I,
mhm.
I went for a checkup. Everything is good. I'm super healthy, of course. Then I found a holistic practitioner, and it was all this freaking trauma that my body took all that trauma from that
Yeah.
day. I've held so much stress and trauma in my body physically, didn't like mentally, didn't really affect me. I never thought about it, never mulled it over. I was like, oh, I was kind of joking around. I got lucky. But physically, I was in a lot of pain. My fascia was so tense. Like I was walking around like this all the time, like ready to go, ready to, that whole,
Mhm.
and took me like a year of like acupuncture and talk therapy to kind of unwind that and untangle that big knot of
Yeah.
trauma. So now, yeah, like I have no pains anymore. My fascia is gone. Everything is amazing.
Wow.
Feeling great. But yeah, like I took therapy for I'm still going to see the same guy as a very talented Chinese medicine doctor.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm going on the third year with him now. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was a pivotal moment for me to untangle all that crap.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then that's exactly what I kind of expected you
Mhm.
might say, especially now that you're into that holistic lifestyle, right? Because
Yeah.
people don't really realize how much trauma is stored in the body, and then comes out with like the psychosomatic symptoms, where you'll go to the doctor and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like there's something going on, but we don't know what it is. But yet those doctors aren't asking about trauma,
Mhm. No, it's
you know?
Western medicine. Western medicine works really well when you break your arm, something, but they never get to the root cause of the problem. This is why I do what
Yeah.
I do because,
Mhm.
I meet somebody calls me and like 2 seconds in the conversation, I just know exactly what's wrong with them, and no doctor can tell them what's wrong, exactly what you just described, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, a big part of it,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So now going back, when it all kind of first started, like the catalyst, like, one thing about our parents, like I had good parents, right? Like they didn't raise a criminal, You know what I mean? However, there was just some things that happened in my life that developed that human development where, my morals were just kind of going online. My values were just going online. Would you say that there's anything way back that you could pinpoint?
Yeah, good question. Absolutely. I love my parents are sweet, sweet people. They're super like proper and correct, and they're just everything is just really, really sweet people. So my dad was an architect. He built houses for a lot of gangsters back home. Right. So they took
Ah,
advantage of him. They would not pay him for a long period of time. And one day I remember one of these gangsters said, "Hey, I owe you a bunch of money now. It would be a lot easier to just take you out than pay you." Kind of my dad kind of
oh,
related that to me. So that kind of rang the bell. And I remember that to this day. I'm like, nobody's ever going to put me in that situation. Nobody's going to take advantage of me. Nobody's ever going to talk to me like that.
mhm,
So that was kind of, I think, a little bit of a push. I'm like, fuck, these guys can do whatever they want and talk like that to people. I mean, that's pretty, that's power. And of course, I wanted power. I wanted money. Right?
mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting. In therapy, we would call that a recapitulation. Yeah, where now you recreate a situation in order to gain control of that situation,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see exactly now the breadcrumbs that would have led you into a lifestyle of power.
hmm
Nobody's going to fuck with me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that was pointed out to me too. I'm like, why? Like, why would I end up hanging out with a bunch of gangsters and getting into a life of crime? And it was that protection.
hmm
It was like, do you know who I know? Don't fuck with me.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
And yeah. And it's such a subconscious program. We're not even really aware of the things that we're doing, but these are the catalysts, right? So
hmm
yeah, thanks for walking me down that road. That helps me understand a little bit about how it all started, right?
Yes, and I definitely enjoyed like as soon as I kind of like hooked up with like the main guys in the city that
Mhm.
everybody was fucking terrified of, and it's just like I got treated a lot differently everywhere I go. Guys would fucking know, and
Mhm.
everybody would want to work with me. People would approach me.
Yeah.
I would grab like I'd buy a freaking really nice brand new car, put some rims on it, be all loud, and guys would literally those other gangsters would see me driving, they would pull up beside me like, "Hey, buddy, pull over, let's talk, let's figure something out. You got work." Right? I'd be like, "Okay," right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So now living that lifestyle, how do you think it, shaped your worldview on humanity, trust for your fellow man?
Well, I fucking truly love people. I want everybody
Mhm.
just to do better for themselves, for their kids, I want the world to be a better place. I always
Yeah.
did. I always was like very motivated to help others to solve their problems. But at the same time, the general population, there's a lot of fucking idiots out there, right? So it's like, I thought I could get away with everything. I thought I was better than everyone. And of course, my ego was huge because I was making money, driving fucking nice cars. I was hooked up with some serious people there, and of course, my ego through the roof. I thought everybody was fucking stupid, and I can get away with anything and just do whatever I need to do, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I find that lifestyle too, a lot of the people in it, there's narcissists, there's antisocial personality disorders, right? Where it's like, I hate the world, and it's them against me and
Yeah.
whatnot. So,
To me, it wasn't this bad, but I already kind
mhm,
of, um, yeah, I thought the Canadian laws it was very soft. All these little rules. I
mm,
thought I could wheeze my way through everything, go around everything, get away, fool everybody, which worked for a long time, like taking certain little
mhm,
precautions. It's the very manageable risks, right? I would always
yeah,
kind of cover my ass with like having like vehicles in companies' names. So if you busted with a bunch of shit in it, oh hey, somebody else drove it, a company vehicle, things like
mm,
that. So I do little things like that that bigger guys taught me to kind of put myself in a safer little bracket, not so much risk, right?
mhm,
But so
mhm,
yeah, I was kind of smart because of that. Like that's kind of pretty much got away because I had a bunch of PPT charges, a bunch of possession, purpose, traffic,
mhm,
and assaults, all that kind of stuff. But I always got away with things because of the little steps I took to prepare for
yeah,
that. Right? I kind of was aware of
yeah.
the system, and I thought the system was like kind of broken.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I remember when I was hanging around a certain ethnic group, they basically said like Canadians are ungrateful. We complain about the stupidest shit. We don't really know hardship, and I think in a sense it's sort of they kind of dehumanized, depersonalized people,
Hmm.
and when you can depersonalize someone or dehumanize them, especially like in the world of selling drugs, like you're kind of intentionally hurting your fellow man.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you're delivering pain, and I think that when we dehumanize people, we're capable of a lot of things.
Yeah, what exactly it? Like it's just like you have no idea what. Even though I thought I was like a good drug dealer, and like one of my guys, like I would roll out in the middle of the day. I would go see the stall guys downtown. They all
Hmm.
come down, buy 200, $300 at a time. They'll make $1,000 then. And then the
Hmm.
rest of the people were like, they weren't like bad junkies sort of thing. There were people that were just normal people that would like to party on the weekends. So I didn't see myself as like selling, crack to junkies. I only sold coke, the recreational stuff to all the party people, to the industry, to all the. So I didn't see myself as that bad. And if somebody was starting to do a lot of it, I would cut them off, or I had a conversation with them, right? Like things like that. So I wasn't like out in Hastings fucking selling. So, but still, like, I had no idea of the damage that causes in the community, like the lateral, the violence, and the problem is it just kind of trickles down the road. You know what I mean? One
It
of the
does.
guys would party and then would have a bad,
Yeah.
temper tantrum and beat up his girlfriend. That's the
Yeah.
kind of shit that was put in the community. So that was, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like when you see this lavish lifestyle of just recreational users, like you'd be surprised who shows up at those parties. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, sometimes
exactly.
even Hollywood or people that had, very high profile doctors, lawyers, you name it. Like, I
That's
mean, I've
exactly
seen it
it.
all.
A bunch of
Yeah.
my people were like doctors that spent freaking 20
Mhm.
years in school. Now they had their practice and they just like to party on the weekend. Or like
Yeah.
successful business dude, they're driving around Bentleys and fucking Lambos, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't see them. I thought, oh, these guys have it under control, right? And then boom, all of a sudden, one of the doctors fucking loses his practice. Then before you
Yeah.
know it, one of the fucking stall guys lost all the shit on stall because he stayed up for 3 days and fucked something up, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. That's exactly. Yeah, and when I realized the harm that I had done to my fellow human, like my fellow man, I lived in many, many, many years of shame and guilt, which I suffered greatly for that. I had very low self confidence, low self worth, and I've worked on those parts of myself now. But did you ever go through a period of your time where you just felt fucking terrible?
yes, I did. I had a lot of a lot of guilt just for fucking. I partied my ass off too for 2, 3 days at a time. I did a lot of stupid shit while partying, and
Mm,
of course, like
mhm.
fucking cocaine psychosis, running around fucking town with a gun, thinking fucking everybody's trying to get you, things
Yes.
like that. That was a big thing for me, letting my friends down. Like, make some plans and let somebody down because they fucking stayed up all night. Then I'm not there to show up. That was a
Mhm.
big pivotal moment for me. I guess that's too. After one episode, I kind of let my body down. Nothing was
Mhm.
nothing crazy, but like he was really upset, and I kind of stopped after that. I stopped. I got out of prison. I
Mhm.
still picked up. I still try to go back to that kind of lifestyle, and everything just crumbled apart for me. Everything fell apart. So yeah, like that was a pivotal moment for me. I let my body down, my good body down, and then after that, I
Mhm.
just never did that again.
Yeah. So did you start going through the spiritual transformation after the attempt on your life, or was that while you were in jail?
Yeah. So
Both.
when that gun jammed in my face, right then and there, I
Mhm.
knew something was going on, something that is different here. That I need to do something better with my life. And then, of course, I just kind of got into. I started watching. The Secret was the first one by Rhonda
Mm.
Burns. I watched that every day, over and over, to just kind of re-brainwash myself. Even though it's very basic stuff, that definitely explained a lot. That was like the first movie, one of a kind thing. I really got into that. And after that, I started. Yeah, like I started my buddy. He's like a successful business owner, owned a bunch of Buddy Energy stores all over Vancouver there. He goes to Tibet. He used to go to Tibet and meditate with the monks there for like 3 months at a time. I came to him and I'm like, buddy, like there's something fucking going on. I got to do something else. I got to try meditation. So he told me this very powerful meditation type where you sit on a teak chair on a ship's key and you hold the pose, and it was very freaking painful. It was like I was detoxing. The crazy things were happening to my body. I would shake uncontrollably and release all the stuff, and then I harnessed the energy, and it was freaking just absolutely nuts, you know. And after that, I started seeing shit. Like I started seeing numbers. You know, it was a combination of numbers. I started seeing, you know, like people's, you know, some energy, auras, weird shit. Like I couldn't understand why I'm seeing the same sequence of numbers. I thought it was going crazy. Then I kind of started, you know, getting into the spiritual side of things, decoding them a little bit. And it kind of took me to my first teacher, my Reiki teacher. And yeah, off we went from there.
So when you said you started seeing things, was that like just in your normal waking life, or were you like non-ordinary states of consciousness?
No, that was normal life. Like I would see, you know, the same sequence of number. I would, you know, be in my car. There would be the same number on my. It would be, you know, 357 would be the
Oh,
time.
I
357
see. Yeah.
would be the address on the
Mhm.
building. 357 would be two license plates in front of me. And I'll be like, okay, what the everywhere I
Mhm.
look, there's some kind of a number, some kind of a sequence. And I got into numerology after that. And there's a really nice little website that's like Angel Numbers by Sacred
Mhm.
Scribes, Joanne Sacred Scribes, which like
Mhm.
made a lot of sense for me. I started kind of plugging those numbers in. I even started plugging them into YouTube. I tried to really, why am I seeing that? I thought I'm losing my mind, right? But it was some sort of guidance from, I don't know where it's from, the universe, God, who knows it. But it took me,
Mhm.
you know, guided me to a lot of good things, and it made me discover a lot of good things about myself and about life. It was these number sequences that kind of led me to
Yeah, that's
that.
interesting. And being that you practice meditation and like the sound therapy and whatnot, and I noticed you played didgeridoo.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
wild. Did you, I don't know, I'm sure you're aware of this, maybe not, but I'll say it anyways for our viewers. But when you play the didgeridoo, did you know that your brain goes into theta?
This is what exactly it is. It's awesome. So when I had the shaman come down from Peru and he just hit me with a didgeridoo right in the my chest, and I was like, boom! I felt like there was an explosion go off inside my head, and I felt my pineal
Mhm.
gland fucking vibrating. It was insane. So I was like, I'm gonna learn to play
Mhm.
that. I went and bought like three of them the next day and started like little parts at first,
Yeah.
but then it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. I absolutely love that. I myself have not learned to play didgeridoo, but I'm so like, I mean, to me, that's like ancient technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sound therapy.
Yeah.
Sound therapy
Yeah.
can, you know, bust up your kidney stones and flush them out.
Mm,
Sound therapy can heal your DNA. Sound therapy can release your
absolutely.
trauma, your guilt. That was a big thing for me was sound therapy when I was seeing the same number. I was which is the frequency for trauma for guilt release, right? Which
Oh,
is
no way. Okay.
396. I would see that everywhere.
Hmm.
And eventually I kind of put on YouTube and that frequency came out and I clicked on it. And as soon as that frequency started, I just something happened to me. It hit me and my tears just started pouring down my eyes. I was in extreme state of euphoria. Like I was
Oh
almost
my
like I was having an orgasm and I was crying at the same time. And my jaw was on the ground like this. And this, like, I really detoxed a lot from that little bit of frequency, a little bit of sound has such a profound effect on me. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. So that's when I started looking into frequencies.
God.
528, you know, like 4 was 17, all the frequencies of creation, those solfeggio tones, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you had a shaman from Peru come. That's incredible. I also work with a shaman from Peru. Well, she's not actually from Peru, but she's apprenticed under the Shipibo lineage for
Mm-hmm.
2 decades. And that's on my goal list is to go to Peru and apprentice under them under one of the masters because I am an advocate for plant medicine. I've sat with ayahuasca 7 times, the
Wow.
psilocybin. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard. It is so hard. It is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And during those journeys, I was shown the spiritual warfare. I was shown organized crime and where it originates from, and the who's actually orchestrating all of it. And it was the most terrifying experience in my entire life. But what it showed me is what I need to do now, my path now, right? And the shaman actually witnessed what I was experiencing And he asked me to start calling on the brotherhood, which is, I didn't quite understand exactly what he meant yet, but I do now.
Yes, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. So I'm really stoked for you that you are going down this spiritual path, because people don't understand like what's actually behind that veil.
Yeah, exactly.
And the veil, once you start seeing that, that veil is really thin,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you practice non-ordinary states of consciousness,
Yeah.
like through meditation?
Yeah, through meditation, right? So, I mean, I did get into a bit of DMT, all right? So we were
Mhm.
doing that a little bit. So, of course, mushrooms, yes. I've, microdosed for, a period of time. And the few times um, I've consumed enough to kind of just go to a little bit of altered state. Nothing
Mhm.
crazy. Um, but no ayahuasca yet. I'm kind of maybe hoping to do that. I almost was getting ready for a ceremony one time, preparing, but it got canceled or something. It wasn't my time.
Mhm.
Then now I kind of, I chilled out a little bit on the sound therapy right now, and I started doing to more with personal coaching, where I'm like calling people out and getting them to getting them to realize what they're doing in their lives, that they can do a lot better. That seems to be working much better, because everybody around me, like people would come to my event and they would feel good for about 3 days after. They would, feel really great, release some stuff, leave it at my house for me to deal with and process, and that they would carry on and have about, the charge would hold for a few days, but then they would still go back to their shitty habits and stupid fucking
Yeah.
whatever they do. Now that I'm kind of like posting my content, I'm like pretty rough on it. I'm pretty raw. I kind of call people out, and that seems to have a lot more of an effect, a lot more of a permanent effect. Even just everybody around me, like my mom, my dad, everybody's working out. My daughter, everybody's got in shape. Everybody started working out. All my friends that have never been in shape are all lost their bellies, all jacked. And I was like, it happened quick because they see me posting, they follow, and they just want to, hey, how, like, let's do this. So, and I seem to have been able to affect a lot more people that way permanently, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. See, now in therapy, we call that kind of behavioral therapy, where it's like, are you ready to get rid of your shit? It's going to be painful, but
Mhm.
this is what you're going to do. It's more of like kind of guiding a client, where then the rest of it is more client centered, where you're, trauma informed, and some people can get really stick. However, I love your approach, that no BS, no excuse. When I really started following your content, I watched a video where you're like that little voice in your head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, that is so true. And I'm going to be totally transparent. Since I started watching your motivational videos, I'll be totally transparent. Like, since I started watching those videos, I have held myself even a little bit more accountable.
Thank you.
Because I respond much better with a coach or a trainer that is like, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, what's your excuse today?
Yes.
Nothing,
Yes.
and I do actually respond very well to that type of coaching. So that's why I support that a lot. It doesn't work for everybody, but it definitely works for me. And little secret too, as a therapist, sometimes I wish I could actually use that approach too.
You know what? That's that's what I find. It's for the most. Of course, it doesn't work for some. Some people are like, "Oh, I don't feel a lot of good vibes coming from you. You swear a lot," and like, well, like, and
Oh,
I'm being myself. I mean, like honesty, authenticity is the best vibration, I think, right? And
yes. Yeah.
telling somebody the truth, if they don't want to fucking hear it, it's just ugly. But
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, that's the truth, and a lot of it just rings the bell really hard. It's just in there, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a really nice balance between the holistic and, like that David Goggins style, right?
Yeah.
Because, humans are multidimensional. And I really do believe that our healing is also multidimensional. And when you look at something like, say, cognitive behavioral therapy, and people are stuck in that repetitive cycle of, oh, this and oh, that, and they become to believe it.
Hmm.
So I think like that really abrasive attitude kind of snaps people out of their BS thinking, stinking thinking. you know?
Yes, that's exactly it. People get stuck on their same
Hmm.
fucking mental state for years, for years, for years. They will just destroy themselves. Somebody
Hmm.
like me comes along, a quick elevator conversation. Well, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, are you serious? Get your shit
Yeah.
together. They're like, oh my god, yeah. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. So now, kind of going back into that whole like criminal lifestyle and now the holistic side, do you believe that there's a spiritual warfare happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all there is. It's a spiritual
That's all
freaking
there
warfare,
is.
man. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on. It's the fucking devil tries to get in your head and to deal, like, so, like, look at the elites. They're taking that very seriously, all the
Ooh,
demonic stuff. And I'm
yeah.
like, just no, I go to church. I go the other way, right? So
Yeah. Do you go to church?
yes, every Sunday I try
Yeah.
to. Yeah, every Sunday. I didn't make it
Nice.
this
Yeah.
Sunday, but last Sunday I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like hearing that too, because part of my journey too, when I was in Calgary, I was down and out. I was at the very tail end of my lifestyle, addictions and just like the trenches. And a friend came by and said, "Come on, let's go. We're gonna go somewhere today." And I'm like, "Okay," like thinking maybe we're gonna go to another party. However, he took me to church.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm not really all that religious. However, that day was the catalyst to finally, finding a path, an alternative path to my self sabotage.
And it happens to a lot of people. They just stop by church and they feel that power there. There's something there. It's God, the universe, however you want to. Some people just
Yeah.
go universe, some people go God, right? I got
Hmm.
this cross tattooed on me. Russia is very religious, right? It's Orthodox.
Yes.
And I grew up very religious, going to churches, praying a lot,
Hmm.
right? And here, just recently, I got baptized again as a Christian. I decided to kind of go non-religious way, just kind of follow the word of God, which is like, don't be a
Hmm.
piece of shit, help everyone, love everybody, and just be a good
Yeah.
person. Not like I want to lean over towards like the Orthodox or Catholic. That's like
Hmm.
very kind of religious to me. I just kind of follow the word of God now and just try to live
Yeah.
from that place, right? So.
And isn't today Eastern Orthodox?
Um, Yeah, it might be. I think
Yeah,
so.
I think it is. And I
Yeah.
actually noticed that when we booked this, I was like, dang, that's kind of, I'm pretty sure, maybe not. Anyways.
No, no.
So yeah, and like in the church that I attended that day was an all black church.
Yeah.
I was like the only, probably maybe one of maybe two or three white people
Mhm.
in there that day. And they were so animated and everything was like hallelujah and the dancing and the singing. And I was so moved by that. The
Mhm.
tears were just running down my face.
Good.
And yeah, and my friend looked at me and he says, "Isn't this way better than any after hours party?" And I'm like, yeah, right. And but one thing he did say to me after that was like, "Rhonda, now that you've felt the Holy Spirit, you have to be really, really aware that there is going to be a spiritual warfare after you. And these are the things to look for." And every single one of them started to happen.
Mhm. Exactly.
Right. And that wasn't the end of all. Like I still had to kind of, but I do have some really devout Christian friends that, that say that everything that I'm practicing today, like the plant medicine, meditation, vibration, frequency is all satanic. And that doesn't sit with me very well. I get a little bit frustrated with that.
Of course, that's a very hardcore Christian way that anything
Mhm.
that takes you away from God, like yoga, demonic, right? Like meditation,
Yeah.
demonic, because it takes you, because you go for healing. That's their version. That's how they make sense of it, is they go for healing to these other things besides God, which Jesus is the only God, which you understand. But like, you also, I look at it from this way, like God created everything, something made us, something created all of
Mhm.
us, so there's a creator. I like the native outlook on things. There's a creator. They don't go fucking trying to like get into it, explain. There's a creator. That's it. He created us, which is perfect for
Yeah.
me, right? um at the same time, yeah, I don't agree with it all that much. I think
Mhm.
healing. Everybody's got their own journey. I mean, there's all these. I mean, they call them demigods, right? It's but at the
Mhm.
same time, like how pure is information in the Bible? You know, King James was a fucking psycho motherfucker. He rewrote the Bible. He also went on like a crazy murder and murdered a bunch of women that he thought he was witches and rewrote the
Yeah.
Bible to his outlook on things, where you could like kill somebody's husband and it's okay as long as you pay their dad some money and you marry his wife. Like it was nuts. Like how do you, you know, with you knowing that that's part of the Bible, how do you take other shit seriously? You know, the basic
Yeah.
lessons and the stories are good, yeah, but you know,
Mhm.
but Jesus is the only God. Well, maybe that was never even the thing. Maybe it was, you know.
Yeah, you should watch the episode of the what they call the holy mushroom, where they feel like early Christianity was actually partaking in psychedelics.
Exactly. It's all about mushrooms. Yes, I've heard that too, and I've read that up. I'm open to everything. I don't deny everything. I just it's all there, and it's you know a lot of things. And everybody, it's a very easy transition from somebody who's like a drug dealer or like you know in a dark lifestyle to get into, you know, go meditation. Oh, that might sound really messed up to them. Sound therapy, hey buddy, like you know what? No, I'll never do that. I'm like, no, bro, you just go and you lay down with your girlfriend and you just close your eyes and relax. Oh, okay, I can do
Yeah.
that. And that starts
Mhm.
them off on a different path. And then after that, they discover things. They feel really good after the sounds, and then boom, it starts. So I feel like it was a really easy transition, you know, before like you take a drug dealer and you take like a little hippie with dreadlocks and oh, you know, you
Mhm.
gotta just start in between and kind of get in, you know, people
Yeah,
into
I
that.
agree. Yeah, it's like energetic surgery, and even with working with a shaman with ayahuasca, like that truly is like energetic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And and one thing too about addictions or any like it doesn't even matter what the addiction is, any type of addiction is generally because we're seeking a higher, an elevated something to connect, which now is like a spiritual sickness. But I mean, if you think about back in the day when you were doing drugs, that's what we were doing. We were altering our consciousness. We were trying to, the euphoria and whatnot. And really, that's what we're trying to do is connect to a higher spirituality. Um, yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. It's you know now that I'm seeing like why do people drink? It's just
Hmm.
all it is just people are just not happy with themselves of how they look like. They don't
Hmm.
have not happy with their accomplishments. There's nothing to you know,
Yeah.
and they want to be themselves and they go and they get fucked up and then you know you'll see the most unconfident person after a few drinks they're just doing freaking backflips on the stage. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's just now I feel like I don't even drink beer. Like it feels like having a drink on a nice sunny day will take away from me to
Mm.
enjoy my day. I feel like it's gonna bring me down, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so happy with myself and how I am that like
Yeah.
that's not even an option for me. I feel like before a day, a boating day without beer, and come on, that was unheard of. It's like what? You're not gonna have a
I
drink on a boat?
know.
No, I feel
Yeah.
like that's gonna bring me down. I want to enjoy myself more. So that's where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
And the spiritual, oh my god! As soon as I gotta get into that, like the cocaine, my cocaine, I was having cocaine dreams, and was just pushing me to do it, and I would just start feeling it, and I would just run to my
Mhm.
therapist right away, and he would do like a little energy thing, and I would forget about it for like a week or two, and it would come back, and it took me like 2 years to kind of kill that completely.
Yeah, it does. It does take a long time. It took me about 2 years as well,
Hmm.
and I'm in the same boat too. I don't drink either. I can't even remember the last time I had a drink,
Yeah.
because every time I drink, like you said, I feel shitty. I feel like there's a cloud, like
Hmm.
a thick,
Yeah.
sticky residual. Yeah, so I'm over that. Well, good for you. Like that's a long journey. So how long has this journey been then, from kind of like from when you first started getting the breadcrumbs till now?
Well, when that first attempt was, that was like, I was over 13 years ago. I would say like, yeah, 13,
Okay.
14 years ago. Um, and that slowly, so that happened, the attempt happened. I got into that. You know, I started meditating. I started seeing stuff. I was kind of following things already. I was watching The Secret. I was preaching a lot of that stuff, but I was still not listening. I was still fucking partying. And I came to Edmonton to visit Edmonton here on my Harley. Visit some of my guys here. I got pulled over. I got a bunch of guys said, "Hey, you got 7 charges in Alberta," and that's when I kind of like took that a lot more seriously because I knew I have a big court case coming up, And that's when I kind of like, decoded some of these other messages and those numbers, and it took me to my teacher, and I started taking it really seriously and doing a lot of, because the time before that, I got charged. I was already aware of all the spiritual things. I got charged with weapon trafficking, right? So I got raided, but they didn't bust my door down because they found a couple of grenades in my locker with a fucking machine gun. So they said, I was partying upstairs. They said downstairs for 3 days, waiting for me to come down. Finally, I ran out of smokes, came down, and they got me. They're like, well, buddy, I'm like, we wouldn't want to come upstairs because we found 2 grenades in your locker and the machine gun. So we just sat and waited for you to come down. And I bet it was, So, and at that time, I had 2 months before court, and I just meditated, and I was such a good boy. I was just living every day like it was my last, and because I was like looking at freaking 10 years for weapon trafficking, right? And at that point, I beat the case. It fell apart. It never even went to court. It got thrown out because of some lack of evidence or whatever, not a proper warrant or stuff like that. And I kind of like, I thought, hey, maybe it's because I was such a good boy for 2 months, right? So after I got that other big case in Saskatchewan, I ended up getting pulled over in Edmonton, visit, and they made me stay. They gave me bail only if I stay in Edmonton. So I was away from everybody. I was completely cut. I couldn't talk to anybody. I stayed here and I really put my head down. I got to work. So I got my Reiki thing. So I was doing the oil field stuff for like, 12 hours a day. Then after that, I would pick up my massage table and go on Reiki, like the whole family at a time. I would be like exhausted and but I would make people feel good. I was really good at that. I'm still good at that. I still do a one-on-one here and there. And so that was, I kind of started taking that really seriously. And still, like I still partied. I still partied here and there. I didn't. And it actually put me up until the very last moment. Like I thought I was getting off because there was a lack of evidence. There was some stuff that came up that my lawyer, was able to find that was like didn't align with the court, papers, and I almost got thrown out. I was actually surprised that the judge pinned it all on me, and because I should have just listened. But the jail was perfect. It actually like continued. That was such a big part of my journey. Because I got in, I went to the pathways, where it's like it's a spiritual, it's like a cultural range where they take you out.
I read that.
You go to the sweats and you do ceremonies, which was like 5 ceremonies with the natives, which was perfect for me because I just studied the Japanese Reiki culture, healing arts, and I got there, and that was like continuation of my journey, and I learned so much from them, and it was amazing. They made me a helper, a scapios, and I was helping out. I was setting up with the sweats. At first, they see a white guy, they're like, what is this white guy doing in this native ranch with a bunch of lifers? And and at the end, they like adopted me. I was a part of the family. Like I was doing stuff, and I put in the work, and I was suffering. I put myself through suffering. I did 2 sweats a week, and like I was just I was.
The sweats are hard.
It was intense. Like I would just burn, and I had to put myself through a lot of shit to kind of release all that. That was perfect. That was really exactly what I needed. So I don't regret anything. It was perfect.
I really, really love hearing that you worked with the Indigenous culture, because that's kind of where it started for me too. Going to a couple Indigenous sweats, which were extremely hard, not as hard as ayahuasca, but still really hard. You almost think you're going to die in there. There's, that does go through your mind.
Exactly. It wasn't like I remember my first sweat. I remember meditating on the teak chair, how that my buddy taught me. Right. And once I would finish the meditation, I would harness this energy, and I would feel a complete state of euphoria. It's like the orgasmic in the back of your head. You just like everything, your whole body is tingling, just feel amazing. Right. Like, and that would take me about half an hour to 45 minutes to reach that state. And I would be in a lot of pain from holding the pose prior to that.
Yeah.
But when I hit the sweat, and as soon as that curtain, the blanket shut, and the drums hit, drums, it's again 528, that it's therapy, it's healing sounds. The drum hit and they started singing. I got that feeling right away without holding any pose or doing anything. I instantly got that boom. I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. And it just really rang my bell at that point. I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Knowing that, it was actually going to be a question that I was going to ask you if you studied any of the indigenous culture at all. And I'm going to send you a playlist on Spotify. It's by Louis Ghani. I don't know if you've ever heard of Louis Ghani. So he's third generation Navajo Nation. And so his ancestors were the code talkers during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And are you familiar with the code talkers in World War II? Okay, so they were the Navajo nation that spoke their native language, but the enemy was never able to uh, break the code. So they were a big part of helping win the war because of they would have like little areas where the soldiers would meet up with them and they would give them directions or tell them where the enemy had gone. And there was only a couple people knew that language. So, anyways, he's got some peyote medicine songs, and I have a whole playlist from him. He's passed on now, but I'm telling you, there is medicine in those songs.
I would love to hear it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, like
Definitely.
seriously, I meditate daily to
Mm-hmm.
those songs, like daily. Whenever I'm feeling stress or anxiety or whatever, I just put on that playlist, and yeah, it definitely helps. Sometimes I even have a big cry, like a big ugly cry. You know what I mean? Because whatever it is, there's medicine, and it does help release some emotion. So I'll send that to you.
Sound
Yeah,
therapy, it's one of the easiest things.
yeah,
Like you can put a little bit
yeah.
of frequency, 528, you can sleep to it all night long. At first it might sound like a little
Mhm.
like a fire alarm is going off or something, but then once you start vibrating in that frequency, you don't hear it at all. You don't even hear
Yeah.
it. It's fucking amazing. There's
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Up for that. So now with your coaching, do you just coach people one on one in the gym, or do you actually do more like therapy, like life coaching?
I do life coaching, yes.
Hmm.
For me, my thing was more life coaching, mindset coaching. I have a
Mm,
conversation with somebody, like I said before, 2 minutes into it, people tell me
mm,
their story, their daily routine, and I'm like, okay, this is the three things that are fucking wrong with you. Go fix that. Your life will change
mhm.
forever. And it works really well. It's super simple. They call me for a little
Yeah.
advice here and there. They don't know what to do. I tell them like how you're supposed to feel, what kind of mind state you have to be in to achieve this, to achieve that, and what you have to think about. And right, fitness thing is easy for me too. I've trained people for years, but I only train some people that need a little bit of extra help. There's some kind of a
Mhm.
recovery from a trauma or some kind of a physical condition that I need to attend to really be there for them. So I only got about three clients like that all I have time for. For the
Mhm.
rest, I do have programs. We're in a low level and a high level program, which I
Mhm.
take my time to really, choose somebody that's, going to take it seriously, because I don't want a lot of people just pay me money and then they don't fucking even do it. I'd say half the
Mm.
people, right? So yeah, I'm very selective with that right now. I don't want to be like, I hired a coach, like a nice the coach, Wes Watson. I'm sure
Yeah,
maybe
I heard
you've
that.
heard of him. So he
Yeah.
was my coach, and he kind of moved me to do
Mhm.
the content. And he's kind of rough like that, which is like I
He yells a lot.
because I'm kind of like that. That's how I am. I
Yeah, yeah,
swear all the
yeah.
time.
He
That's
yells
how I
a lot.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's kind of he's a little bit fucking crazy, but I love the guy. He actually changed my life for good. So he kind of does a lot of everybody goes into one group and he just but not too much attention, like it's too many. I don't want to have too many people. I want to like focus on the few select people that are actually going to take it seriously, and I can walk them through their life until usually takes a few months. Usually it's like 2 3, up to like 6 months, where people's lives are completely changed. They can carry on
Mhm.
their own, right? So I'm very selective now. I don't just have a bunch of people pay me $200 a month and I'm just like doing the phone call and with
Yeah.
like random questions, right? Like I just, yeah.
Yeah. I do like that. I've worked with a personal trainer. His nickname around the gym is either Dr. Satan or Captain Dick. And and he has fired clients.
Hmm.
He's like, "Get out of here. Stop wasting my time."
Yes.
Because all he heard was like, I can't. And he even escorted someone's mom out of the building because she was in there just hovering and saying that telling him what he needs to do with her son. And he's like, there's the door.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and I remember leaving you a message saying, like, with the Muay Thai, that's the only time that I almost felt like I was going to throw up, and that was him.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was
yes.
yeah, that was him. He's a brutal trainer, but let me tell you, since I started working with him, I have never had a back problem or any type because he completely realigned
Hmm.
my like from my feet all the way into my knees, hips, back. Like yeah, because he's also a kinesiologist, right? But hard as
Yeah.
nails.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is very, very important. Like you have to make sure you're all aligned properly. Like your head is on straight and like your spine is aligned
Yes.
because that could cause a lot of issues. Just pressure on your
Yeah.
spine could, cause indigestion, could cause permanent headache, stuff like that. So I do always send somebody before I start training them to, Providence chiropractic here to make sure they're aligned, that their
Mm.
bones are not,
Yeah.
in any kind of where
Yeah.
they can be compromised easily. So yeah, that was a big thing. Definitely, that's a big, huge,
Yeah.
huge point for healing for somebody.
Right on. Yeah. So now, being that I'm going to start aiming my practice into penitentiary, I generally like to work with men and mental health. I mean, especially after 20 years in the oil field. I've always worked in a male dominated industry. So I have a real passion in helping men because I think that men are the last ones to say help.
Hmm.
They're, they have this rough exterior and they don't want to admit that they need some guidance or whatever. What would you say to those men that are resisting reaching out, getting the help that they need, but are silently suffering? What would you say to them?
You guys, there's no shame. Everybody needs a hand. Everybody needs a little bit of help. You'd be surprised at how little help somebody might need.
Hmm.
It's truly amazing. It's like somebody could just use a tiny little push, one sentence of somebody just caring about them, and their whole life will
Yeah,
change. It could be
yeah.
so easy, right? And there's absolutely no shame in it. And that's what friends are for. That's what we're all supposed to take care of each other, help each other. What's what people are for. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Now, what about some youth, like juvenile delinquents, that are continuously in the system, that are on their way to like serving some heavy time or addictions or even death? Like, what would you say to them? Like, you know,
You guys, like, there's just no other way. Okay, like either something's
mhm,
gonna make you do it, or you're gonna end up dead, and that's
yeah,
just it. There's no outcome of this where you win. There's no version of this where you come out on top. Like the sooner you
mhm,
stop, everything can be settled now. Stop doing what you're doing. Fucking get on a spiritual path, and you'll be
yeah,
taken care of. Like just be a good person. Don't be a piece of shit. Like
yeah,
make your mother
choices.
proud, make your parents proud, make your kids proud of you. Make Just be a
Mhm.
good fucking person.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that because I'm going to use those words, right?
Mhm. Thank you.
Now, I want to be respectful of your time. Oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, no. I was actually gonna say something about the penitentiary. So as soon as I got to the
Mm,
penitentiary, and I
mhm,
brought my stack of my certificates with me, and I showed it to the warden. And
mhm,
I was working canteen, so I had access to all the ranges. So even like
mhm,
the bug range, the mental range, the protective
mhm,
custody. I would see them all, interact with everybody.
mhm.
And so guys will come and shoot the shit with me. They will kind of know that I'm a holistic practitioner. Everybody I already had a big name in there, so everybody kind of respected me. I was very well respected when I came in there, and I was pretty
Mhm,
trusted. And a lot of guys would come and start talking to me, and I would literally have a 5-10 minute conversation with them, and they would go to the counselor and they say, "Listen, I had a 5 minute conversation with Dennis there, and they'll help me more than a year worth of therapy talking to one of you guys." So they actually gave me a pass, and I could go walk around prison. I could do Reiki on people, like obviously some selective ones. And that was a big, big, big help for a lot of guys in there, right? So what you're doing, yeah, I think that's going to go a long, long way because somebody that's like, they're great. The system is actually really good. The programming and the penitentiary institutional programming is really well. It worked really well. It helped me
mhm,
understand a lot of things, but there's certain stuff that it just doesn't cover. And for somebody to talk to
mhm,
somebody that's outside the system, that has our previous experiences with life that they can relate to, it makes a
mhm.
world of a difference for the guy. So the people would relate a lot to you instead of just a counselor that's just did a 9 to 5, went to school, doesn't know about the life that we lived, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's going to be, I think you're doing that's a really good idea what you're doing. It's great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And that was actually a question I was going to ask you too. Like as a female that has lived the life, like, how am I going to do in there? Are they going to receive me well? Am I going to get a hard time? And it's like, well, I got a hard time in the oil field every day, all day,
Hmm.
every day, right? Because I
Yeah.
was a safety,
Yeah. I did my
right?
MTSO too. I did some safety
Yeah.
for a while
And
there.
and I loved it because it wasn't about preaching policies and procedures. It was about, hey, buddy, how's everything at home? Like, you all
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that when you can relate to people on a more personal level, it makes milestones. Not discrediting the therapists and all the psychiatrists and psychologists, like, not discrediting their education at all. But I personally would rather talk to somebody like yourself. You know what I
That's
mean?
exactly it. I think both is good
Mhm.
because I just do, yeah, I would say both for sure because those
Yeah.
people can give you that structure and kind of like
Yes.
what to act on. And we can be like, hey, buddy, this is what you got it. So, yeah, both
Yeah.
would definitely.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That gives me a real vote of confidence too,
Mhm.
because I'm actually in the midst of completing the 90-minute workshop, so I'm about ready to make a proposal to the correctional centers. And so, but with your experience, though, is there already a lot of programs that are happening in there, or do you think there's room for me?
There's definitely room for you. Absolutely. I would start with healing centers like Stan Daniels, minimum security stuff. They're a lot
Hmm.
more open to that there, and they do
Okay.
let guys go for programming. So I would approach them first, kind of like the healing, yeah, like the healing, any kind of a healing.
Sorry, what did you just call that though?
The healing
The
center that would be so. There would either there's a penitentiary, it's a minimum security, but then there's a healing center. You can go to the healing center, same as a
Oh,
minimum
okay.
security, but
Hmm.
it's a little bit softer rules. They do take you out a
Hmm.
lot to cultural events. It's like the extension of pathways, which is the
Oh,
native spiritual range where people
okay.
follow the culture. So once you do the time there, you can go to the native healing center, which I'm a white
Mhm.
guy. They're like, no white guys can't get in here at all. And I'm like, well, here, hold my, I got in there, right? Like, because I did the
Yeah.
work.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I read that on the Correctional Services website too. That pathways, there's only about 2% of Caucasians that are in there. And I do know another guy. He was an ex HA as well that did some serious time, and he went into that pathways as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
he wants to now do that on his property. He wants to get the elders to come in and do that. And I'm like, I support that
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
That
for
was my
sure.
that was my plan too. We were actually talking with the director of Stan Daniels here, the healing
Mhm.
center. When I was at my acreage there, I would just have the guys come out and do like the ceremony, and they would just hang out and would bring them out
Mhm.
actually like a supervised visit
Yeah.
to me. So they were actually open to even letting guys help me with the stuff around the house, build some sweat lodge and
Mm.
stuff like that. We never got around to it, but that was definitely in discussion. So they're very open to that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, so kind of we'll start wrapping up a little bit because we've been an hour, and to be honest, Dennis, anything that goes over an hour gets tricky to edit.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God. But I did kind of want to cover become the conqueror and go through that 1 through 6. There's motivation,
Let's
resilience,
do it.
continuous. Yeah, I love that. Just, like you could just go, fly off the cuff here. But all right. So one post that that spoke a lot of volume to me was become the conqueror. And number one was motivation, resilience, continuous improvement, adaptability. Oh my God, I can't even talk. Innovation and achievement. And it's important to note that while competitiveness can be beneficial, and this is a part that I absolutely love, it should be balanced with other qualities such as collaboration, empathy, and ethical behavior for long-term success. I'm going to steal that one, right?
Yes. Yes. I put a
Oh, I'm
little bit
going
of
to use it.
I put a little bit of
Yeah.
thought into that one. Yeah, it came out pretty good.
Yeah, that one is really good. And I'm serious. Like, do I have your blessing on actually stealing that? I'm going to put that
Absolutely.
in my, yeah.
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Spread the
because
word. It's the best thing you can
the
do. Just
last
share
part.
that out to spread the word, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because the last part with like the balance with the other qualities, man, that spoke volumes because we have this rough, tough exterior, but we also need to come in with empathy and collaboration, right? So
Mhm.
awesome, Dennis. Well, I enjoyed this conversation.
Me too, very, very much. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That's a great, yeah.
So please let the viewers know where can they find you.
Good Vibe Rising. That's my Instagram page. You guys shoot me a DM, follow me, whatever you need. I answer my own DMs pretty quickly. So anybody needs any help, just reach out and we'll see what we can do for you.
Okay. Any upcoming events?
I am looking at currently. I'm looking at the couple of new venues. I'm either gonna rent out a pool at the hotel because we like to do the sound therapy in the pool where everybody floats on
I
water
love
mattresses,
that.
like at my old house there, right? Because that body of
Mm,
water, it's got the density of the water
mm,
in the air. It kind of like makes the frequency travel better, and there's just the
mm,
humidity and like the water is the body of water makes all the differences, the negative ions, and just makes you feel really good around there, right? So I am going to keep everybody posted. I do make a post about a week prior to the event. So
mhm.
I'm looking at the university pool or this hotel pool. So pretty much this week I'm going to go look at a couple of places and we'll set something up, so you guys yeah,
Mhm.
stay tuned.
Excellent. And when that day comes, just tag me in that, okay? So
Yeah,
I receive that because I will share it because I
yeah.
actually do have clients and connections out that way as well. So
Mhm.
I would love to send them your way.
Perfect, Rhonda. Thank you so much, my dear.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Thanks, Dennis.
Bye.